Hey, Heart Seekers, welcome to the Heart's Hello Show, where our hearts are the foundation of our well being and happiness. I am your host, Kiana Talena. In this episode, we are going to discuss why it is so important for us to be able to unlearn and relearn as we create space for growth and transformation in our lives. One of the things that I talk about, not just in this episode, but in each and every episode, is that we have to be able to show up as our true and authentic version of ourselves each and every day. And every day that we deprive ourselves from showing up as who we are created to be, not only does ourselves a disservice, but we also do a disservice to those who are around us because they don't know what they're going to get from this version of us because we're trying to figure out how to show up each and every day as someone who we are not created to be. One, it is exhausting. Two, it does not give the person the opportunity to truly fall in love with or to like who you truly are. You begin to create a circle of people around you who are attached and like this version of you that's not even you. You will leave a room and have to do a deep sigh because you are overwhelmed. You're burnt out and you're trying to figure out, why is it that I feel so heavy? You feel so heavy because you are showing up in spaces as an unauthentic version of you. And so I believe that it is important for us to be able to unlearn and relearn so that we can create this space. I believe that each and every one of us at some point in our lives, we go through a pause. I believe that there is some areas and times when we just feel completely stuck and that there's a limit that has been, invisible limit that has been placed around us. And I also believe that in that space, we don't take the necessary time to sit and reflect on why we are where we are. And so it is my desire that hopefully as you get to the end of this episode, as we are unlearning and relearning some things, that we reassess our beliefs, we reassess the habits and the mindsets that no longer serve us. See, I think that sometimes as we're thinking about just this word of unlearning, it's our ability to be able to let go of those outdated and unhelpful ways of thinking and being. I'll say that again. It is unlearning and letting go of those outdated and unhelpful ways of thinking and being. So you have to be able to recognize where you are, how you got here, and understanding that how you got here and where you are is not going to be helpful for where you want to go. See, as you go about unlearning, you are ultimately creating this blank slate. And so for me, I always have this picture of me holding an Etch-A-Sketch in my mind. For those of you all who are old enough to know that an Etch-A-Sketch has these two different knobs on it. And once you've drawn something, you can shake it up and whatever you drew is no longer there. But I believe that as we are going about unlearning, we have to be able to create this blank slate in our mental and emotional space where now we have these new perspectives and this new knowledge that we can use to take root. And as we go about unlearning, we have to be able to relearn. So if you're just thinking about in your life, what are some things that you had that you thought were so true? And as you were going about doing them in your life, you realized that's not true. So what did you do? You realized that you had to throw that old idea away and relearn something that was going to take its place. And so relearning is going to be the process of adapting new ways of thinking and doing what aligns more closely with our current goals, our values, and the person that we are becoming. We have to be able to embrace change so that we are open enough to new possibilities. So in essence, relearning allows us to be able to evolve, to adapt, and to move forward with greater clarity and intention making sure that as we are in this still space, as we are pausing, as we are reflecting, and as we are stepping into new chapters of our life, we are doing so with the best of what we know to be true. So what are some things that we need to be able to unlearn? And you will hear me say we because I have not arrived yet. I'm still learning just as you all are learning. I'm still growing as you all are growing. I'm still evolving as you all are evolving. We're on this journey of life together, right? So what are some things that most of us are still trying to and need to unlearn? One thing is going to be just limiting beliefs. Many people carry beliefs about their abilities, their worth, their potential that are holding them back. So when you hear someone say, I am not good enough, or I'm too old to change, or I don't deserve success, or whatever that may be, that is a limiting belief that you have told yourself or you have allowed someone else to tell you. We have to unlearn that. Another thing that needs to be unlearned is the fear of failure. Because if you're always fearing that you're going to fail something, it's going to prevent you from taking risks that are going to help you to pursue your dreams. Another is going to be perfectionism. Nobody is perfect. So if that is what you're holding on to, it is preventing you from being able to move forward, which can lead to procrastination and burnout. Unlearn it. Another big one that so many people suffer with, and something that I had to be delivered from as well, which is going to be people pleasing. I had to realize that prioritizing others over my own needs, and often at my detriment, was something that I had to be able to unlearn. Being able to set healthy boundaries and recognizing just when to say no and being good with my no. Another thing is going to be having a fixed mindset. You're going to have to unlearn it. Believing that talents and abilities are fixed and cannot be developed can limit your growth. That's almost like someone saying, you know, only tall people can play basketball. Who said that? That would be a fixed mindset. So if someone who may be short wants to play basketball, but if someone has told them that only tall people can play, that person may develop a fixed mindset, even though they have the talent and ability to be able to play. So unlearn it. A scarcity mindset is going to be another thing that you need to unlearn. Whatever that is, if you're thinking that it's not enough or not enough to go around, whether it's going to be love, success, money, it can create unnecessary competition and anxiety. Unlearn it. You have to be able to start thinking about abundance and collaboration. Scarcity mindset will keep you stuck today, tomorrow, and forevermore. Another big one that needs to be unlearned is being mindful of what you say to yourself. That's going to be your negative self-talk. You are with you all day long. So that means you are talking to yourself all day long, even if you are not opening your mouth to say it. You hear your thoughts. So if you are constantly telling yourself what you cannot do, guess what? You will not do it. So you have to be able to unlearn negative self-talk, because if you don't replace it with a kinder, more constructive version of you, what is going to happen when other people begin to have negative talk about you? You will believe it because you have also talked negatively about yourself to you. Unlearn it. Being able to conform, unlearn it. I know that society has given us this expectation of what we should be, how we should act, how we should show up. I need you to unlearn it, because if you are always trying to conform to what everyone else is doing, you will never show up as the authentic version of you, because you are always going to be a slave to someone else. You are always going to be a slave to what society says you should and should not be doing. This is where your core values come into play. This is where your true beliefs of who you are. This is where your habits and the good patterns that you are now going to create come into place, because you are now reframing what your life should be, who you should be. So do not conform to what society says you should and should not be doing, because it will change next week. And that means you will always be trying to change to fit in. Along those same lines is going to be instant gratification. I know you've heard people say that, oh, we are living in a society where everyone wants everything to be microwaved and no one wants to go through the process. I do believe that that is indeed to be true. When you're always looking for or have this expectation of immediate results, it can lead to your impatience and frustration. So as we are thinking about things that we have to be able to unlearn, we have to realize that there are going to be some areas in our lives that are going to take time. I talked about in the beginning that we are on a marathon. Life is a marathon. It is not a sprint. Sometimes there are going to be things that you can reach expeditiously, but then there are going to be some things that you have to plant the seed, water it, fertilize it, pull up some weeds, make sure that it's getting the right sunlight. It is not instantaneous. And so we have to be able to unlearn that instant gratification isn't necessarily always going to be the best thing. And that sometimes we have to just be able to put in the work and wait for us to be able to reap the harvest of the work that we have put in. So unlearning. Another area that we need to be able to unlearn is our judgment of others, especially as we are in this social media age and so many people are hiding behind keyboards, hiding behind screens, and just typing whatever at this point. But also being able to quickly judge others limits our empathy and our understanding. When you realize that you are not perfect, and that there are things within your life that people don't know anything about, you would not be so quick to judge what others may be going through because you don't know their life. You don't know what they have had to go through in order to get there. And even if you do know them, it is not your responsibility to judge. So we have to get to a place where we are practicing compassion and that we are recognizing that everyone has their own unique journey, their own, their own, their own. Just like we all have our own unique fingerprint. We do not, cannot, should not be judging anyone else. So those are just going to be some things that we need to be able to unlearn. Say it with me. Unlearn it. Unlearn the patterns. Unlearn those things so that we can create space for a healthier, more empowering way of thinking and living, because it's ultimately just going to help us lead to greater fulfillment and success. So I gave you some areas in which most individuals need to unlearn. Now let's talk about how we can unlearn to relearn so that we can continue through this process that is going to require our intentional action. Say it with me. Intentional action. Most people just hear what is being said, but no one wants to be able to put in the work. And the only way that change is going to happen is that when you change it. The only way that you're going to get out of life what you want out of life is that you're going to have to go get it. Yes, there are going to be some things that show up in our lives, but that's because you have put in the work in order to get it. So let's go get the things that we need in order to have a successful journey through life. The very first thing that we're going to need to do is just some self-reflection and awareness. So the action that we have to do is to dedicate time to reflect on our beliefs, our habits, and our thought patterns. How you go about doing that, if it's just you sitting down, making some time to meditate, or if you are journaling about those areas in your life, which I recommend that you do, sit down and journal. Journal those areas where you feel stuck, where you are unfulfilled. Because once you have been able to identify those specific limiting beliefs, fears, behaviors, whatever those things are that have been able to hold you back, you now can see those areas that you need to work on and those things that have been holding you back so that you now understand why you need to relearn it. And the relearning piece of that is so that you become aware of the ingrained patterns that no longer serve you, which is going to make it easier for you to unlearn it so that you can relearn. The second thing that you're going to have to do is to challenge and reframe. So the action to that is whenever you catch yourself engaging in negative self-talk, people pleasing, or any of those other limiting behaviors, I'm going to need you to pause and challenge the thought or the action. I need you to ask yourself, is this belief or behavior helping or hindering me? And then once you've asked yourself those questions, you're going to now actively reframe it with a more empowering perspective. So for example, if you think that I'm not good enough, you're going to reframe it with I'm capable and constantly growing. Why? Because you want to be able to challenge and reframe those things to help you replace the old limiting beliefs with new constructive ones, which are going to be essential with your relearning. The third thing that you're going to need to do is practice and reinforce the new patterns. We talk about all of the things that we want to do, and all of those things sound great. But again, in order for you to get the results that you're looking for, you're going to have to put in the work. So the action is going to be to create a daily or weekly practice that reinforces your new beliefs or behaviors. So this could be setting small goals that align with your growth mindset, practicing self-compassion, or actively saying no to things that no longer serve you. So if you're unlearning perfectionism, you're going to set a goal to complete a task to the best of your ability within a set time frame, and then let it go, regardless of whether it is going to be perfect or not. Why? Because that consistent practice and reinforcement is going to help solidify those new patterns in your mind, making the relearning process more sustainable and effective. So I'm excited about just us being able to get to this place. I gave you 3 steps on how we can go about relearning. One was the self-reflection and awareness. 2, challenge and reframe. And the third one is practice and reinforce new patterns. I believe that if we consistently think about the things that we are doing throughout our day and being able to catch ourselves when we are in those spaces that we need to be able to unlearn, we then just become a better version of ourselves each and every day. And that should be the goal. Each and every day, we should just get a little bit better. So I'm excited, you all. I'm excited about where we are in this process. I'm excited about those things that we are now conscious of that we need to unlearn to relearn so that we can show up and be the best version of ourselves, not just for ourselves, but to those that are in our lives. So I want to thank you for joining me for another adventure of the Hearts Hello Show, where together we embrace vulnerability, we learn from each other, and we spread love, one heartfelt hello at a time.